Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got big news for you. We're going to talk all about it. All right. Well, we didn't get the TRO, but we did hear something from the judge that's very important. And we're going to get all into that, but this is not all bad news by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm not really surprised by it. I told you folks over the last few days that one thing I was concerned about is that this might not be ready for a restraining order because of the fact that they've only received a draft of a possible investigation, what they might look for. They've not even received a notice of allegations, nor do they have any pending penalties sitting over top of them. So that is probably why the judge didn't want to do the temporary restraining order, because the case isn't ripe, I think is the technical term. I could be wrong about that. I'm not an attorney, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express one time, and I'm thinking that's the right term. And this is on 3 with Pete Nakos, and he's been really on top of this. Said court rules on TRO versus the NCAA, and we're going to get into it. Says a federal judge in Tennessee denied a temporary restraining order Tuesday that would allow high school prospects and transfer portal players in those two states to communicate with NIL collectives during their recruitment. Judge Clifton Corker ruled in favor of the NCAA after attorneys general in Tennessee and Virginia filed an antitrust lawsuit last Wednesday. The decision comes a day before National Signing Day, which, look, National Signing Day was in December. Really, I mean, it's all moved up front by 2 months, almost 3. So this is not that big a deal. I don't even know if we were going to sign anybody today. In Corker's decision, the judge states Tennessee and Virginia failed to demonstrate at this juncture the requisite irreparable harm for the issuance of a TRO. In other words, there's just not enough over top of them. While the TRO has been denied, Corker also notes in his decision that the two states' merits are likely to succeed. A preliminary injunction hearing is set for Monday, February 13th. That makes it sound like we probably won't get the preliminary injunction, but it sounds like we're probably going to win the case. And it goes a little bit further. It says, considering the evidence currently before the court, plaintiffs are likely to succeed on the merits of their claim under the Sherman Act.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
And we've talked all about the Sherman Act. That's an antitrust law to where it allows people to basically go out and make a dadgum living, and they can get the fair market value. And what the NCAA is doing is getting in the way of that. And that's what got them nailed up in the Supreme Court 9-0, is that they were trying to keep kids from not even being able to get money for their name, image, and likeness. But Kavanaugh, one of the Supreme Court members, said, just bring on the next one. We can't wait, because they didn't see anything the NCAA was doing that suited them. I mean, you just never see 9-0. That's just extremely rare. So whatever comes up in front of them next will probably get knocked out of the park. Says this all comes in the wake of the NCAA launching an investigation into Tennessee athletics last week for alleged multiple NIL violations. Basically, the big thing was the plane ride by Nico. Now, Carson Beck just bought a $300,000 Lamborghini, and I showed you that in a video previously. And there was a Lambo waiting on a wide receiver that went to Texas, but there's no pay for play anywhere else. It's only Tennessee's got the problem, and Florida State and a couple others. Look, unless they plan on going, and even if they did go and just nail every single team, everybody's doing this. And it's not, hey, everybody's doing, something under the table, whatever. This is above the table. Everybody's doing this. And there's not a single team out there that tell you they're not. Says the ruling would have only impacted athletes in those two states. More states could potentially join the lawsuit in the coming weeks. The NCAA and attorneys general traded barbs over the weekend. We talked all about that. Of course, the NCAA used their Captain Chaos and their general disarray and all that nonsense. And it says this comes from the NCAA starting to show its teeth and govern the NIL landscape. They basically did nothing for 2 years, and there were no rules. They had some guidelines out there, but there were no hard and fast rules. And if you don't believe me, listen to Charlie Baker.
As employees or not employees, what is it exactly?
Okay, for me, what I would really like, right now there are no rules around how name, image, and likeness works. And for your audience, that's the opportunity for student athletes to benefit from their name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, I mean, that's the president in November of last year, which was a few months ago. So you can either believe them or believe your lying eyes. It's up to you. According to the New York Times, the NCAA search, it has to do with Nico going to Knoxville and that he flew there on a private plane that I believe Spire Sports paid for the flight. And, of course, he was already signed with Spire Sports, which they're allowed to sign him in California, given California state law. Jackson Lampley also joined as a declarant. Danny White ripped the NCAA. So did Donde Plowman, the senator. Senator Marsha Blackburn nailed him, and so did the governor. It says, in the past, the NCAA has reached a negotiated resolution with institutions, but Tennessee's not going to negotiate. Absolutely not. We're not going to settle with them. We're going to fight them until it gets to the Supreme Court, and then we're going to win there, and that'll be the end of their NIL nonsense. What they need to do is get out of the way of NIL and let kids make the money they're going to make based on fair market value. And this is going to take years and years for all of this to get worked out, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, who knows how many years. I'm not talking about this case. I'm talking about how everybody's going to get paid playing college football or college basketball. At some point, who knows, it may end up being something NFL light where you have a collective bargaining and you have a union and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how many people really want to see that, but here's what it boils down to. There are federal laws out there and state laws. Those laws have to be followed, and if the NCAA continues to break those laws, they're going to lose every time. And the judge pretty much just told them, said, you're not going to win. You know, what are we really doing here? Why are you going after them under these circumstances? The Sherman Act takes care of it. So anyway, it is what it is. I did want to get that out to you. And this is not a shocker. Like I said, I didn't think this case was really ripe, but it sounds like everything's heading in the right direction. If you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover all these big news stories, my Vols, the SEC, you name it. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Hit this little button. I'd appreciate it. And right over here is most recent video. YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.